Hello everyone, I am Tassit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War faction of the Lyrasza's Lair as of its new Deep Delve variant, and it ended up getting a new troop that actually helps it out for its pure faction a little bit, which is good because this is one of the more annoying pure factions to do in the entire game, mostly due to the randomness factors associated to it. With that being said, this kingdom, or this faction more so, is associated to the kingdom of Shantang, ends up utilizing the colors of yellow and purple. And here we have the new layout. It looks pretty similar to the other layout, except the order that you have to do it in is very, very weird. So, of course, we have our standard first room as we always have, and then we have to go straight to the middle. The normal layout for this, it basically just moves forward as far as how you end up needing to do it. But the deeper variant, we can end up seeing it kind of curves all over the place, but ends up making up for it by having a lot of treasure rooms in between. So, from what I can tell, it seems to have 4 guaranteed treasure rooms, which is a pretty hefty amount to just be able to get across the entire thing. So if we go through this battle real quick, just end up taking this out, kill the other little guy with good old Stellarix Takashaka. Gotta love the combo. We do mention it for one of the teams, though, with a little bit of a downgrade compared to Stellarix, of course. But as you can see here, an angel, apparently. As we can see, after this angel that gave us literally nothing, we have ourselves these unlocks. So the treasure room locations are here, here, and here. And from what I could tell, it seems as long as you go and take any of these, this should unlock the other section. So as you see right here, we end up taking that, and then we end up getting to the final there. So you only ever have to do a 4-path in order to get to the final, and then you can simply just save all of the treasure rooms for last. Those being the one all the way in the bottom right over here, the one in the top right over here, the one in the top left over here, and then, of course, the one all the way in the middle, which from what I can tell, all 4 seem to be guaranteed treasure rooms on the new layout. As far as the old layout is concerned, if we go and just abandon this run right here, run away, we can end up seeing the previous layout. If we just go to one of these, and this is just a lot more straightforward. Just go for the higher multipliers and plays pretty much how you would pretty much any other delve. Just rush for your higher multipliers on the bigger rooms there, and it's a lot less confusing than whatever on Earth the new layout is. However, this place, I don't believe has a single guaranteed treasure room, which is so bad compared to the new layout. The new layout has 4 guaranteed. The previous layout has 0. So that's a huge difference as far as the overall amount of treasure room you can end up getting from it. So pretty nice. A lot more loot that you'll be able to get during the grind this week. As far as the new troop is concerned, it is actually not horrible. Like, you're definitely not going to use it outside this event. But what I mean by not horrible is the pure faction team can end up utilizing him. Like everything from this kingdom, he has a 1 in 3 chance of doing 1 in 3 different things. He'll either deal some damage to the first 2 enemies for a double poke, or he'll gain some attack, or he'll destroy 2 rows at random. So either a little bit of mana accumulation, a little bit of damage, or a little bit of future damage. Main pretty noteworthy thing about him is he does have 20% score reduction, which the other one from here has 20% skull dodge, which both help you, but this will be a bit more consistent, whereas the other one just bursts all of its benefit at once. But the biggest thing that will really help him out is he gains Enrage when an enemy dies. So this will allow him to hit through any kind of traits, anything else, just to be able to hit more damage, which can come into play, especially in combination with his attack gain. So overall, he's definitely not required to end up running. Running double the Manticore is probably still overall the strategy, but one big benefit that you can actually get from him, if we go over the teams, might as well start getting into them, all of which are in the description below if you want to go copy pasting them. You can now run a 4x team, and while this might be slightly weaker than still running the old meta, which was double the Manticore into Chaos Hound for the resummon, and then Lyrasza just to have it for the storm, everything else. But despite normally doubling up on this previously, one benefit of not doubling up on it, despite the fact that you do have to go with 1 Manticore instead of 2, you get a lot of extra stats. Like a lot, because not only do you get the 4x bonus for Lyrasza's Lair, which you have the pet that will be slightly higher as well, but you also have 2 different bonuses for having 4x Shantang. And if you go double Manticore, you only have a 3x bonus for both of these 2 things, rather than the full 4x bonus. And that can make up for a lot of extra stats, including some pretty useful ones like magic. But even beyond that, just a little bit of durability, a little bit of attack in there. But mostly all that durability and extra magic is going to go a long way. So it's probably worth it to end up running him. For nothing else, even if he ends up dying out, as long as you're going with that into the final fight, the Manticore, Chaos Hound, which will likely be 2 Chaos Hounds because it'll just resummon into first slot, and your team will be Chaos Hound, Manticore, Chaos Hound, Lyrasza. But you'll still be able to have, for that duration, the extra benefit from all your stats. So as long as you can have like this full team going into the final fight, you'll probably be good to go. Even if it does chip off and you still have that, it's still going to be fine. So overall, should hopefully be a little bit easier. You'll have a lot more stats to work with when you're first going in, if nothing else. It really just comes down to, does one single mana core do enough mana drain and silence and everything? It's still going to be really luck-based that he actually steals attack when you need him to, that he drains when you need him to, he silence when you needs him to. And only having one might limit that a little bit, but similar to how this kingdom has always been, or the faction I should say, it is very luck-based. And that hasn't really changed, like, at all. It is still absurdly luck-based as far as it's concerned. Anyways, let's start going over teams. So, of course, with yellow and purple, we do have quite a few good mana accumulators. We have things like Thrall, Leprechaun, gosh, why do I forget the other thing? Bork. So we have quite a few mana accumulators out there. For this first team, we end up using Doomed Volge, or some of the more recent things. Doomed Volge in the previous month's Mythic. Both some of the more common recent things, or not common, but you know, things that have come out recently that people are more likely to have. So you can just end up running a Doomed Volge Void Dragon team, should work out pretty nice. Gem Dragon isn't necessarily, but gives even more magic into your already gaining magic that you have from the other guy. And Leprechaun, of course, this is a pretty standard mana accumulator there. Next, we have ourselves the lower rarity team. I do consider legends that are from factions to be lower rarity, just because you can always target these. So you can end up going for Queen Zachi whenever and have a pretty okay AoE option. It also gets to explode some gems. Only does this if there's a storm, but you can do your Ehe Cattle to immediately get you a ton of yellow mana and get your yellow storm you need to get things rolling. While Staff of Madness is not required, we're mostly doing this to buff up all the Strix. Running a similar mech one or something similar can also work. But honestly, any explodey weapon that you have that has resummon will be perfectly fine. You don't need to have specifically that one if you don't have it. Just plop any one there that just covers a bunch of colors or has a good effect. But you're basically spamming Zachi until you win. Next, we have ourselves our pretty much the Stellarix triple Takashaka team. Just a little bit cheaper, so it's easier to copy-paste. I end up showing it with Venoxia here, for any of you that don't have Stellarix, Diamantine, or anything similar. Obviously, Venoxia into Takashaka is still very, very strong. If you feel like your Venoxia might die, you can go double Venoxia into double Takashaka, or even go Hero in first slot, running like Elementalist or some kind of tank, maybe his Wand or whatever else you might want to run. Then have your Venoxia, then have your double Takashaka. And of course, you can also just run it with one Takashaka, though you might want to go with like a Leprechaun or some other similar thing to make up for the lack of mana accumulation. Otherwise, the main premise of this team is spam Venoxia into Takashaka and just keep them looping between each other until you win. And just rinse and repeat until the battle has been won. Next, we have the lower rarity team, and honestly, I just went with boosting Finesse. This, of course, been a team that you can run at the lower range, but you can also run at the higher range. This does get a little bit slower towards the higher range, but pretty much everything does that isn't insta-kill if you're not running like Zolgoth or other similar things. You do have access to Iron Gut Zolgoth, by the way, so even though I don't show it here, you do have the option of Iron Gut Zolgoth to run. Pretty standard team that's pretty much always been run for factions, but if you want to run that, that is still an option. But for super low rarity, Finesse, you just get them from the guild keys. Really easy to obtain. You do need to fully trade it, which is a little bit harder, but once you do, that's going to be 12 stats to all of your Strixes per turn, which is your entire team. It's 4 per, but of course you have 3 of them and it does stack. So every single extra turn you take, they're going to gain a ton extra stats, which is not only extra durability that they can use with their 50% skull reduction, not only more skull damage that they can potentially end up doing, but also more damage onto their ability, which is the main thing that you're going for. Their ability also ends up giving 6 mana to all other allies as long as there is a storm in play. And we're basically using Perpetual Yellow Storm off of Stormcaller in order to do that for us, which of course also feeds yellow mana into him. And he'll just be able to get all of his mana back, because as 2 of these casts, you'll get 12 extra mana to all your other allies. That will go right into your Finesse, which only uses 11 mana, and you just keep repeating that until you win. You do have to give up your turn every single time, but they're bulky enough that they're generally going to survive out, and you'll probably have all of them going to the final fight. Next, we have ourselves the Pure Faction team, which we kind of already mentioned, but just to reiterate, we're trying to utilize the 4 times bonus here. Now that there's an actual viable 4 times team, unlike before, we can now run 4 of them in order to gain a ton of extra stats. Ideally, try to keep them all alive, but if you do end up losing the new guy, it's not too big a deal. You'll end up getting a resummon off the Chaos Hound, which will have a 1 in 3 chance, and then ideally going to the final fight, you will have Chaos Hound, the Mana Core, another Chaos Hound, and Lyrasza. And as long as you get your disables off on the Mana Core, you should be fine to end up winning. And that is pretty much this faction in a nutshell. If you guys still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. All the teams we just mentioned are in the description if you want to go use any of them. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and best of luck if you're trying for a Pure Faction, because you're going to need it with all those 1 in 3 chances that the faction has. Bye, everyone, and thanks for watching.